playing to win energetically, an energetic perspective on playing to win. It's a little different. Hello, I'm Frank Future. We're talking about playing to win, but from an energetic perspective. And it's kind of really up for me right now because, so it'll be 2 days ago when you hear this, but it was yesterday. I got waylaid, energetic waylaid. Boom! I got blitzed. There's a lot going on in the planet. I definitely picked it up, got hit hard, boom. I'm in like a challenge week. I'm always like in a challenge, right? I'm always doing a challenge of like, how far can you push this? How far can you push that? Let's do that. Have my commitments with my accountability buddy. I'm gonna do this, right? And I came in this week and I had like 4 big things and it's like, oh, it's, I was kind of building up to it and I was like feeling the weight, but then I got energetically waylaid, just boom, got hit with this stuff. But ironically, what I did was like, I'm just kind of like, I can't think this way and that way. And I had some big realizations the night before and like took on some stuff that was like my boogeyman, but I took it on. I was like, yeah. And I'm like, but I'm feeling waylaid. But what I did was, and it felt like it was a backstep, right? Because I had these big, 4 things, my commitments and like pound my chest, I'm going to do them. But I was, energetically waylaid. The stuff was coming in. I'm just like, whoa, what's going on? And my first thought was, it's like, dude, you need to go to the woods. You need to go to the woods. You need to get connected to source. I mean, I'm out here. This is my jam. I mean, there's another story I'm going to tell on that too, about this serviceman named Kyle that I heard from my accountability buddy sent to me. I'm just trying to look up his last name, but I don't have internet because I'm out in the middle of nowhere. And I'll tell you that story. However, so I went to the woods. I was like, it just got clear of like, wait a second, get clear with God. I mean, if things are crazy, that's the biggest thing you got to do. Get clear with God, go to the woods. So I did. I went to the woods and it was just, I was like, okay, got those other commitments, but we're going to put them aside and get right with me, get right with God and kind of get clear. So I went there and I'm journaling, I'm doing my energy clearance and I got tuned in. I was like, okay, that's good. Came back and it was like another waylaying and I was just out. I was done. I was like, boom. I didn't even have my daily commitment. So I was kind of leaving that night, kind of just feeling like, oh man, this is all messed up. And then like kind of feeling like a little bit of like a sabotage of like, I got and like, I'm not gonna be able to hit these targets and yet, but then I got that deeper because I did the earlier clearings. I had gotten right with God and then I got like a big boogeyman that was coming after me. And I was like, ooh, I felt that before, but I never seen it like that. And I was able to kind of be like, ooh, that's a big dog, right? And I spent that night and called in some backup, calling some friends. I'm like, hey, look, check it out. It showed up, it's here. This is a big dog for me. Come at it with your stuff. I'll hit with my stuff. Let's go after it. I was in the morning early, just hitting it. Then I had a really good day. Well, I would say a really good day, but another boogeyman I was worried about. It went really well. And I came to the middle of the day and, I'm doing the stuff I'm supposed to be doing, but I have these 4 big commitments and I'm looking at like, man, I'm not going to, like, how am I going to do all this stuff, right? And I kind of felt myself kind of imploding a little bit and being like, you blew it yesterday and, how are you going to make this other stuff happen? And then I was like, whoa, wait a second. I was like, no. You can just tell by that language. And I'm like, oh, no, that's not good info. And that's kind of what I was clearing out that night before and all that morning. And then it kind of just like, okay, wait a second, let's replay this day. I got these 4 big commitments and I'm looking at, well, but what's my bigger commitment than those 4 commitments? I mean, like I got waylaid and my first thought was go get connected with God. And I'm like, oh, that's a trump right there. That's a win. I mean, those 4 commitments are like 4 different programs, 4 things created by man, not God. So I was like, whoa, wait a second, don't be putting that above, getting connected to source, hearing your inner voice, getting connected to that, like on an energetic level, there's a big difference than like the physical where like, step by step, push through, get to the end, get to the goal. Energetically, you're playing in this non-physical realm where any one of them could be a masterful miracle. So yeah, those 4 different commitments were going to take me on a journey of like, yeah, I resonate with it. I'm going to get there. But you don't give up your connection to source. You don't give up your connection to yourself, your connection to joy, because along that progress of those commitments is when the magic could happen. I mean, accomplishing all those 4 things, being on the end of that and being like, yeah, but missing the miracle that source, God, the universe had for me, that would be the biggest failure. Because I mean, I kind of see it as like you're kind of got this crust around you. You got this bright, amazing light inside, right? And it's like, you don't know where that's going to break. What conversation is going to cause that? What clearing might cause that? You know, those 4 commitments, one of those things on the way could cause that. But you don't want to be so kind of entrenched in like, oh, I got to do it. And I'm not making it. I'm failing. And I'll try as hard as I can, but I'm probably not going to make, you know. But that will miss the miracle. And reconnecting of like, whoa, wait a second. God's got miracles for you. And you just got to be open to hearing them. And yeah, you take on challenges to expand you, to push past your comfort zone. Because in your comfort zone, it's kind of your containment. And the miracles kind of got blocked, right? And if you're not actually experiencing the miracle, then it's probably outside your comfort zone where that miracle is. But it could just be close. And just, you know, and hearing, because Source is talking to you. And Source is like, hey, I know you got this big commitments here, here, and here, but I kind of need you to go that way. And honoring that voice of like, oh, that way? Yeah, but all these people are yelling. It's like, the Source is saying go that way. And that's kind of my experience, because I got waylaid. There was an energetic boom, knocked me off my center. But then when I started looking through and deeper of like, whoa, wait a second, that really woke in something that had got me. And maybe those 4 commitments might have done it. So what I ended up doing today is like really reconnecting. It's like, I'm playing to win, you know? It's like, I want to push past my comfort zone, but I'm also playing to win. So taking on those 4 commitments, knowing that it's just like, I'm already behind. It's more than I can do. It's that, you know, it's always like, it's just like, oh, how would I even do it? And being like, whoa, wait a second, I'm playing to win. And then feeling like, what could I let go? It's like, no, I can't let go of everything. I committed to it, I gotta do it. And I was like, but then I was like, well, isn't that an energetic challenge? I love the word challenge. Like, challenge, what? Like, why are you over attached to some of that stuff? Let's look a little deeper. And it's like, oh yeah. And looking at it like, okay, well, there's one thing was like, that one was really a commitment. It was something you like to have done too. And it'd be cool. It'd be like feathering your hat, like, yeah, I took that on, I crushed it. And I was like, but that's not essential right now. It's like, well, let that go. And I could feel that, like, kind of like that spiritual pressure of like, oh, that'd be hard. And you'd be like, well, good, then do that. I'd like to let that go. I was like, oh yeah, I could let that go. And then look at some of the other ones of like, yeah, I'm committed, pump my chest. But is it as in line with connecting the Source? Is it as in line with like your bigger purpose? I'm like, no, not really. Well, not really. It's kind of like I want to be able to do all things, right? So it's kind of like outside my comfort zone, not necessarily like, okay, I'm in nature, connecting with Source. It was more of like kind of like physical, practical, show you can do it, right? But I'm like, well, that's not as connected to my purpose. I want to be able to do that as well, but I'm not sacrificing. Won't sacrifice a trinket for Source. And kind of getting connected about it, like, oh yeah. And it actually turned out of like the one commitment, which was the first one I made, which is more in line with all the stuff that I was doing, was like, oh man, that one on its own. If I full on jump in, I mean, because it's not like, oh, I could do that easily on just to be a cakewalk. It's like, oh man, considering how much time has passed, my deadline for like that I set up, it's not like anybody's forcing me. I was like, but that one, a miracle could happen. Just doing that, focusing on that and being like all in, I'm gonna do this and be really, really present. I'm like, wow, a miracle could come. Like amazing miracles could happen. And I was like, oh, wow. And it just re-changed my perspective. And that's why I want to convey on like this kind of energetic stuff. It's a little different than physically, that sometimes it's like, you just gotta do the reps, gotta get the reps in, gotta get the reps in. But energetic, it's a little different because you're dealing with magical energy. And then all these other 3 things, which are big, powerful, you know, probably would realize something, but it's like, whoa, wait a second. This one commitment, I need to do that more fully with the time that I have, more consciously, and be like, I'm gonna go in all with that. And maybe I could commit and finish that one, you know, complete that one and jump on one of the other ones, but having to be like, no, those other ones, I gotta let go. Gotta cut bait and be like, you know what? I'm not off track. I'm going for the win, and super focus on just this one is going for the win. And not like saying like, oh, well, there's other commitments and I'm just not going to do them and whoosh, I'm done. It's like, oh no, they're still on the plate. They're just going to get postponed because I'm choosing to win. And like energetically be like, no, I'm going to win, because doing all of them is kind of like a way to lose versus being like, okay, And it turned out like the one I committed to, there wasn't like a public commitment to it. The other one was like a public commitment. It was kind of like a pump your chest and you're going to do it, right? And I get more flack for letting that one go. But on an energetic level, on a spirit level, on a source level, it's like, but I lose more if I let that one go. Like that's where my heart sings. That's probably where a lot of the angst was coming from, because it's like you're going for trinkets and you're going to let that one fall. And like, so on the energetic level, it's like really going back of like, no, where is your spirit really pulled you? And make sure you're in the line of like, I'm going for that. Even if you have to cut off 3 things, you're like, no, I'm going for my win. I'm gonna take this on. Because being in just the complete overwhelm it blocks hearing. It's block hearing the message from source. It's like one of the quickest ways to get you not hearing what's happening. So that's just a little different perspective on the energetic. Sometimes you do gotta, it's not about just pumping your chest and pushing through, and there is times and places for that. And it's great to kind of like get out there and boom and see what you bump up against, and dig through stuff and get after it. But also notice the nuance of like, don't let that be a distraction. Don't let that be a distraction from what source is telling you. Because source might not yell and scream at you and tell you like, oh, you gotta do this. That of in the physical will be more yelling and screaming, and source might be a little more subtle. But then, you know, in the big energetic waves, you know, that's when you get like the sickness or the major life transition and stuff like that of like, okay, you need to change. Those are intense. But if you just listen, you know, just a little listen, you know, recheck in of like, wait a second, do I feel like I'm winning? Do I feel like I'm being a light? And be like, okay, what do I need to cut away as kind of distracting from that? Because sometimes you do pick them up of like, okay, it's going to be a challenge. But when you just feel like it's just a beat down, then it's like, well, no, I don't get beat down. It could happen. You get pushed down, pushed on the ground, foot stomped on, you know, at least in your mind, you can be like, well, in my mind, I'm going to be standing. Stances might have me on the ground, face down, but at least my mind, I'm going to be standing. And always coming back to that, okay, like what's happening in the mind sanctum, you know? Because if the mind sanctum has been attacked, it's like, oh, let's get the mind sanctum straight. Let's get right with God. Let's get right with what that is. Then we'll deal with the commitments. But it's like, let's get that dialed in, because sometimes the waylay comes, you know, and that could be source guidance too. And that happens. It's like, okay, I got waylaid. Let's regroup. Let's get connected to source. What am I really here for? Okay, what commitments can I still keep? Which ones are most in line with that? And if it's a challenge, let them go. Like, you know, I'm not giving up on them, because that's the quickest way that the dark forces get in. They're like, oh yeah, don't do that, and don't do this, and don't do that. And you see yourself, you know, you're on the couch eating Doritos, watching TV. It's like, that's not connecting to source. It's like, wait a second, wait, I got bamboozled. So you don't give up. But sometimes it is like, oh man, you know, I got these and commitments. I'm going to have to spend a little more time meditating. But I mean, also just throwing out there, if that's a super renewing experience of like, you need to sit on the couch, eat some Doritos, watch a TV show because source said to do it, that could happen too. You know, there's a possibility. If you get up off that couch feeling inspired, you're ready to take on the world, then yeah, that was a renewing experience. But if you want to stay on the couch, keep watching the TV, binge eat more food, and then feel horrible after, then you know, maybe that wasn't so divinely intended. But just knowing that like the priority on the energetic level is really being tapped in. Even if you don't feel like you're tapped in, but at least having the intent of like, okay, what am I getting? What is my heart? What will make it sing? Even if you can't make it sing, because sometimes I've been in places of a lot of torment. I couldn't make it sing. That's when you can use your logic mind of like, hey, what can I take on? But when you start getting connected up and you take on a little too much, sometimes you got to cut it away. Knowing that's in the physical kind of looks like, oh, you're just irresponsible. But on the energetic, it's like you need to be open to the miracles that can happen. Like once you can get out the torment, sometimes you got to battle and fight it out, and you get out. But as soon as you get out torment, then it's kind of like, okay, you know, I'm above the water. Let me look for land. I mean, when you're underwater, you don't worry about where land is. You know, if you're underwater, just get to the surface. Whatever it takes. Swim. I've been underwater a lot. Get to the surface. But once you get to the surface, then start looking. I'm like, okay, I got to the surface. Now where's land? Ooh, land. All right, let's start making my way there. You know, and then recommitting to all those things that might have had to get dropped off to either get to the surface or to get where land is. You know, because it could be like, oh crap, it's that way. Well, I'm gonna get the land, and then maybe I'll get a boat and we'll go get that. So hopefully that helps. Hopefully I was able to convey just that there is such magic in the non-physical. And sometimes it feels like a step back of like letting go of a commitment, letting go of a challenge, but knowing that you're putting something that's of a higher priority in place, as opposed to just like, oh, it's just too much, as opposed to it will distract me from this, which is more important. And this is my priority. I'll get back to you, but I have to do this one to win, because let's win. Let's do it to win. So hopefully that helps. Until we talk again, have a blessed day or a blessed night.